On Monday, September 9th, Senator Becca Rausch held her first 2024 Fall Town Hall in Needham. Now, during the meeting, she discussed the funding she helped secure for local communities and provided updates on recent legislation. Municipal producer Yusha Yuan reports.
Needham received over $17 million in funding from the state's FY25 budget. In addition to the major portion allocated to annual state aid programs for public schools and road and bridge maintenance, the town also received $100,000 for stormwater infrastructure, $50,000 for the town seal and branding initiative, $100,000 for the Charles River Center, and $40,000 for behavioral health services. Senator Rausch shared several legislative accomplishments as well. The governor recently signed the maternal health bill into law, which expands midwifery services in the state. Rausch noted the interest in home birth midwifery care has significantly increased since the pandemic.
The demand, once it rose so starkly, it didn't drop back down. It just stayed there. So we knew this was a need. This midwifery licensure for certified professional midwives was already law in 38 other states. I'm proud to be the lead file of this bill in the Senate. It is now law, making Massachusetts number 39.
Another major piece of legislation is the Affordable Homes Act, which authorizes $5.2 billion in spending over the next 5 years and includes nearly 50 policy initiatives aimed at addressing rising housing costs.
This is the largest authorized investment in housing in state history. We provide the legalization and authorization of accessory dwelling units by right in single-family zoning across the state, invests $150 million to decarbonize public housing. This bill also included, as an amendment, my bill to allow condominium associations to take votes electronically. This seems perhaps like a small deal, but when you're trying to make changes in condos, you have to be able to get people together to vote. And especially right now, it's actually really hard to physically get people together. And when they can't do that, they can't do any of the other good things that are in this bill. So that actually is a really important piece going forward.
This legislative session also saw the passage of a law criminalizing the sharing of explicit images of someone without their consent, tackling the issue of online abuse.
This also strengthens protections for survivors and enhances education for young people about the dangers of sexting and also deepfakes.
In addition, Massachusetts lawmakers reached an agreement on a gun violence prevention bill.
It limits the spread of untraceable, what we know as ghost guns, and 3D printed weapons. It strengthens our red flags law to include school administrators and licensed healthcare providers as potential reporters. It restricts large capacity feeding devices and updates the definition of assault weapons, and also adds new firearm data reporting requirements. We can't mitigate what we don't measure, so we have to have that data. The bill that was passed by the Senate and also the final legislation that has now been signed into law was supported both by gun safety advocates and by the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police.
However, Rausch acknowledged several important bills were stalled in the legislature this session.
And there's still hope that at least one of these will, maybe more, hopefully, will get across the finish line in the coming weeks and months, depending on how I'm not involved in those negotiations, so I unfortunately don't have much more of an update than that to provide. I do hope that we get these things finished because they are really, really, really important. Throughout the Commonwealth and for every single one of your communities.
During the Q&A session, Rausch addressed a submitted question about transparency on Beacon Hill.
I think the ranking is dead last. I think we're actually dead last in the whole state. The whole nation. This one is a tough nut to crack, not gonna lie. I think a lot of you already know that.
She explained while her voting records are available on her website, many lawmakers face challenges in making their records publicly accessible due to the high volume of votes they take and the limitations of their staff.
I take a lot of votes. It's not just the votes on the floor, right? It's every time I vote in committee. It's every time we vote on a rules package. It's a lot of work, especially as committees, just my own committee, right? The committee I chair. the Environmental Committee, we assessed and evaluated and voted on 350 bills just this term, right? And I sit on 7 committees. So it's a lot of work to do that. Now, that's something that I decided long before I hired any of my staff that this was something we were going to do. And so we work on it, right? And we dedicate time and energy and developed a system to make those things happen. But absent that system and absent the time and the staff, right? Some members of the House have 1 person, and that's it. I have a staff of 5 plus interns and fellows.
Rausch highlighted the Sunlight Act, which she co-sponsored with other legislators. This bill would require all recorded committee votes to be posted publicly and make testimony available. The bill did not advance this legislative session, so it will need to be refiled in the next session. For Needham Channel News, I'm Yu Xiaoyuan.